You know that classic American story we all tell? The one about the ambitious student who works a summer job, saves up, and pays their own way through college? For a long time, that wasn't just a story. It was totally possible. But today? Well, with student loan debt now over $1.7 trillion, that whole idea feels like it's from another planet. So what on earth happened? How did we go from a summer job being enough to a system that leaves millions of people buried in debt?
Oh, let's dig right into that, starting with that classic rite of passage, the summer job. We're gonna break down the actual numbers to see exactly why a path that was once totally doable for an older generation has become, well, a mathematical dead end for students today.
I mean, just look at this. The difference is it's night and day. 50 years ago, this was a real achievable goal. Fast forward to today, and for the huge majority of students, it's just not gonna happen. The dream of earning your tuition over summer break has smashed right into a new financial reality. Let's get into the hard numbers and see why. Okay, so let's rewind to 1970. The federal minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. If you worked a full-time summer job, you could pull in about $748, and the average tuition for a public university for the whole year, just $394. Think about that. You could pay your entire year's tuition and still have cash left over for books, food, whatever. The math, it just worked. Simple as that. Now let's jump forward 50 years, and the picture looks completely different. That same summer job, now at a federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, gets you around $3,480. But look at tuition. It has absolutely ballooned to over $10,000. All of a sudden, your entire summer of hard work covers less than a third of the cost. The gap between what you can earn and what you have to pay is just enormous. So what would it take to actually close that gap? A student would need to work an extra 24 hours a week, every single week, on top of a full-time class schedule. And most experts will tell you that's not just tough, it's practically impossible if you actually want to, learn and pass your classes. So this isn't about students not working hard enough. It's about an economic equation that has completely flipped. All right, let's zoom out a bit. That struggle we just saw for one student, it scales up into the national crisis we hear about all the time. And the numbers behind it are truly mind-boggling. Here it is, the big one, $1.7 trillion. That is the total student debt held by more than 43 million Americans. And just to put that number in perspective, it's more than all the credit card debt in the country. It's more than all the auto loan debt. It has just grown and grown to become a defining economic problem for entire generations. So you have to ask, where did that massive debt number come from? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is right here. Since 1970, the average tuition at a public university has exploded by over 2,500%. And no, that is not a typo. It's a number that has just blown past standard inflation. But to really get the full picture, you have to look at the other side of this equation, how much people are earning. And here is the fundamental problem. Over that same 50-year period, the federal minimum wage only went up by 353%. So when you put those two numbers side by side, a 2,580% jump in cost versus a 353% bump in the minimum wage, the core of the crisis becomes crystal clear. The price of admission went to the moon, while the ability to earn your way in has barely gotten off the ground. So that all leads to the big, inevitable question. Why? What happened? There are a lot of different factors people point to, but one really compelling theory suggests that, weirdly enough, the very programs designed to help students might have actually made the problem worse. It sounds completely backwards, right? It's an idea that's been debated for decades. Could it be that the huge expansion of federal student loans, money that's supposed to make college more accessible, is actually giving colleges a green light to just keep hiking their prices? Let's unpack that theory. It's called the Bennett hypothesis. It was first brought up by the Secretary of Education way back in 1987. And the argument is pretty simple. When the government makes it easier for students to borrow more money, colleges know that their customers can suddenly afford a higher price. So they raise tuition, feeling pretty confident that federal loans will just expand to cover the difference. And this isn't just a hunch. A major study in 2017 from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York actually put some numbers on it. What they found was that for every extra dollar the government made available in subsidized student loans, universities raised their tuition price by about 60 cents. It suggests there's a really strong link between all that available aid and the runaway cost of college.
So we've looked at the incredible scale of the debt and one big theory about why costs went up. But the burden of this $1.7 trillion crisis is not shared equally, not by a long shot. Now we're going to look at who is getting hit the hardest. This right here is a really staggering statistic. Women hold nearly 2/3 of all student debt in the entire country. And it's a double whammy because they tend to borrow more in the first place, and then that debt gets compounded by the gender pay gap, which makes it that much harder to pay it all back after graduation. And this budget really shows you what that looks like in the real world. Okay, so here's a sample budget for a recent female grad. After she covers the absolute basics, rent, car, food, and her student loan bill, she is left with just $148 for the whole month. But then if you add in the average cost of childcare, which is the reality for so many, she's not just getting by, she's going almost $400 into the red every single month. And this disparity becomes even sharper when we look at race. A year out of college, Black women carry the highest average debt of all, totaling over $41,000. It's a really clear sign that the student debt crisis doesn't exist in a vacuum. It slams right into existing economic inequalities and makes them even worse. So, with the problem laid out this clearly, the big question is, what do we do about it? Let's take a look at some of the major solutions that are being debated right now. The ideas on the table really cover a lot of ground. Some of them focus on the before, making college more affordable from the start. That means things like expanding Pell Grants for lower-income students or having states invest more money in their public universities. Then you have ideas for the after, helping people who are already drowning in debt with simpler repayment plans or different types of debt cancellation. And finally, some proposals look at the even bigger picture, like tackling the gender pay gap to give people a better shot at paying their loans back. So this all leaves us with a really fundamental and pretty challenging question. If the financial aid that was created to make college possible is also helping drive the price up, it forces us to rethink this entire system. This isn't just about the sticker price anymore or the balance on a loan statement. It's about the huge long-term economic weight we're asking an entire generation to carry. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the true price of a degree and who is really paying for it?